Hello everyone, this is Lolly and welcome to the Arx Fatalis Modding Academy. In today's episode we'll be adding a little companion into the inventory. It's not going to be draggable, but it will be a permanent member of this inventory texture, and the cool thing is that you can place a little mushroom on top of his head to increase the overall cuteness factor. I mean, that is just adorable. So, by the end of this video, if you follow along, you will be able to change any of the textures of the game, and that is probably a very good starting point in creating mods in Arx Fatalis. So let me just exit the game real quick and I'll set you up with the programs necessary for this. Don't worry, it will be no more than 2 programs. I'm going to be working in Windows 11, but the steps I'm taking are identical to older versions of Windows. Plus, if you are over at Linux or on Mac, then it's also going to be the same for everyone. The 2 programs that you need to grab is, first of all, Arx Libertatis. It's way easier to work with Arx Libertatis and the tools that are already present in that game than to just try and hack stuff into vanilla Arx. And also, I need to mention that even if you install Arx Libertatis, most of the mods that we are doing will probably work fine with vanilla Arx Fatalis. So this is the first thing we need to install, and then we need an image editing software, which I recommend is GIMP, because it's cross-platform and works the same way on any operating systems, but you can use Photoshop, and I will try my best to emphasize all the gotchas with the image formats that Arx using. So in order to grab Arx Libertatis, go to the main page. I'll put the link to the description, but it's just arx-libertatis.org. Go to download, scroll down all the way to this pre-built Windows and Linux binaries for regular development snapshots, and just grab the latest version, which can be done by going down here and to the Windows section or whatever operating system you have, and follow the instruction steps. And I've already downloaded this Arx Libertatis Windows installer, and this will be the latest snapshot. And the reason I'm recommending the latest snapshot is because it's probably not going to have all the issues that we have with the current stable download. Plus, there are always some good stuff added since the latest stable release. And also, I've downloaded the latest version of GIMP, and I have already downloaded them here. Let me just install them. By the way, I'm using the Steam version of Arx Fatalis, and I'm going to install Arx Libertatis on top of that. Okay, selecting English as the installer language, that will be good for me. Next, and it already detected that I have a Steam installation of Arx Fatalis. It says found Arx Fatalis data, Steam. That's very good. I'm going to leave that to default. Next, and here, click this second option, create separate Arx Libertatis install, and also click this copy Arx Fatalis data, just in case, so that you don't mess up the stuff in your Steam directory accidentally. And it's just a good idea to copy something and have that data twice instead of just having to work with one installation. Click next, and you can choose whichever option you want. And I will also leave this to the default folder, the default setting, which will place Arx Libertatis into C program files Arx Libertatis. Next, install, very nice. It's gonna be a very fast install. It's installing all the viruses, very good. And I'm not going to run Arx Libertatis just yet. You can try it out, but it's not necessary. So I'm gonna finish it, and then I will install GIMP. Yeah, it's a very funky installer splash screen, I have to admit that. Install.
2,000 years later.
Alright, it seems it installed everything. Okay, and the next thing we need to do is do a bit of setup for Arx Fatalis folder, or Arx Libertatis folder rather. First of all, I'm here inside C, program files, and here's Arx Libertatis. There's one annoying issue that you will encounter is that if you try to do any modifications here or add a new file, like let me try adding a new empty text file. Alright, then let's just add a folder, and as you can see that Windows is already trying to protect me, because this says that this requires administrator privileges or something like that. Continue, and then I can create my new folder, like hello. And every time I try to make any changes, like adding new files, it will probably yell at me that I need to confirm my changes. Yeah, like I'm trying to delete it, but then I again need to switch to administrator rights by clicking on that button. So in order to not tear your hair out and not having to do this every time, go up one folder and then right click on Arx Libertatis and go to Properties. This will be the same in Windows 10 also. Go to Security and then click Edit. It doesn't matter what is selected here. Click on Edit and scroll down to this Users part, and then you should be able to click on this Full Control Allow, and that will give you full control, because normally what the users of your own computer can do is read and run content in it, or run executable files and view the contents, but you are not permitted to write and modify data. So that is what we saw previously with that Windows pop-up. Apply and you are good to go. All right, okay, and if I go in here and try to create a new folder, then lo and behold, I can create all sorts of stuff now. If I create a new folder now, it doesn't prompt me anymore to make changes here, and this will be very useful for everyone. Okay, the next thing to keep in mind is that Arx Fatalis keeps the save data and any user settings after installing and running the game in a separate folder, so the save files will not be inside this folder, but rather it will be inside your users folder. So I'm in C, users, my username is Lolly, and in here you see this saved games folder, and inside Arx Libertatis will create its own folder. It is actually required to run the game at least once, isn't it? Alright. Let me start the game. Okay, and if I quit, yes, here it is. We have this new Arx Libertatis folder with a lot of whatever it created, and it has a save folder. This is where we will have the save files, and the reason we need this folder is going to be obvious in a second. But let me just go back to this program files Arx Libertatis folder, because we need one more thing. In order to change any of the assets of the game, we need to know what the file name of each asset is, but every asset is packed together like in a zip file and hidden away from us, and those little packages are extracted runtime by the game, and you don't have access to those textures. So you can go through all of these folders here, or you can do the same in your vanilla Arx Fatalis folders, and you will not find the game data because they are inside these pack files. And these cannot be opened with normal programs, but thankfully Arx Libertatis comes with this Arx Unpack exe, and you don't need to do anything with it, just double click on it and it will open this window and it will just go through all the pack files and it will extract them. Where, you ask? Here into this saved games Arx Libertatis folder. It will be inside this unpacked folder, and I will just let this program run and extract every pack file. Specifically, it needs to extract this data pack, data2 pack, loc pack for localization, also this localization default pack, sound effects, and speech packs, and also probably this one. And this is 1 GB worth of data packed together. If you have second thoughts on running this to the end, you can just stop this program anytime by pressing Ctrl+C, so you can continue whenever you want to. In order to have your own data being loaded by Arx Fatalis or Arx Libertatis, you need to grab one of the files from these folders or multiple files, and you need to copy the folder structure that is visible here and just place it here next to, relative to arx.exe. So let me go to Graph, Interface, Inventory, and then you can see we have this hero inventory.bmp. And if I open this with whatever the default image viewer with Windows, then you can see that this is the inventory texture. Its format is bitmap, and we will use GIMP to make slight modifications to this. All right, let's try out something. Let me try copying this, Ctrl+C, and I go over to the program files Arx Libertatis. Arx Libertatis already comes with this graph folder, so I'm going in here, and there's an interface folder already, but we don't have an inventory. So let me create that folder, inventory, and in there I can paste my hero inventory.bmp. I right click on it, and I'm going to open it with GIMP, or feel free to start GIMP beforehand and just open the hero inventory.png there. GIMP is starting up. If you click here in this left section, let me just change the color here to something like this red. And I'm going to use this paintbrush tool, and I'm just going to draw here these squiggly lines just for demonstration. And I'm going to go into File, and instead of overwrite hero inventory.bmp, I'm going to go with export as. It's going to be very similar, but it will allow you to change or review the BMP settings, because there is the first caveat that you need to keep in mind when you work with Arx Fatalis assets. So the first type of texture that Arx uses is this BMP format. Yes, I'm going to replace it. And there are two things you need to keep in mind when working with BMPs if you want to make them compatible with Arx. First of all, go to Advanced Options and make sure that it is set to 24 bits and not 32 bits. It doesn't support transparency. And the other one, which is specific to GIMP, I don't think you need to worry about this when you are using any other graphical software, but you need to click this Do Not Write Color Space Information. Export, and that should be good. And I should have an Arx Libertatis icon on the desktop. Yep, let me just start the game and let's check the new lovely vandalized hero inventory image. All right, welcome to the new world, Mr. Shigar. Very nice, and you can see that here is our lovely vandalized inventory image. I'm going to go into Arx Libertatis options because there are a few things that you can do to help yourself when you are working with this interface. Go to interface settings and you can increase the size of the HUD elements. So if I increase it a bit more, then you can see that everything is a bit more visible and it is easier for you to spot any mistakes. Yeah, I wasn't completely correct when I said that the game doesn't support transparency when it comes to BMP files, because as you can see, we have this curvy edge, but if I Alt-Tab back to GIMP, then you can see that we have this black around there. With this color picker tool, you pick this color here at the corner, then you can see that this is a fully black, completely black color, and I think I can go with this HTML notation. This is every channel is set to 0, so if you set a completely black something, then it will be transparent when you are working with BMP. If you want something to look black, but you don't want the game to make it transparent, then you need to set the color to just a tad bit brighter by setting it to 010101, okay? And then you can draw something again here, and that will show up as black. And you will not be able to notice the differences. And I think now I can override the hero inventory BMP. It should have remembered my previous settings. But in order to see the changes, you need to exit the game and you need to restart the game. And there you go, we have some black stuff on the inventory, and it's not going to make the thing transparent, but instead show up as black. Let's try adding a little critter to the hero inventory and make this something more sophisticated. I'm going to search for a simple hamster, PNG. And while you are working in GIMP, it doesn't matter what formats you use. The thing that matters is that you save it as a BMP. All right, this seems to be a very cute critter. Right-click, copy image. I don't even need to save it. And then Control-V or right-click and paste. And then I'm going to say that this layer is called hamster. There is this tool called Scale tool. I'm going to click this. And I have this hamster layer selected. I'm going to click and drag this little hamster and it shrinks. And to reposition it without having to exit this tool, I can grab this center part, I can move it to the right side and continue shrinking this little critter down. Okay, a bit more, and I can adjust it, and I can use these corners and edges to fine-tune my scale. I guess a bit bigger could work also. Okay, it seems to be in a fairly okay position, and I'm going to click on Scale to apply my changes. And one more thing I can do is, in order to have the grid lines of the inventory more visible, I'm going to make the hamster a bit transparent. I'm reducing the opacity by having the hamster layer selected, and I'm going to drag down this opacity around this. So the hamster is still visible, but the whole thing is a nice composition. Okay, File, Export As, just to be sure, and I'm going to keep the naming again as the default, as what I had originally. Export. Yes, please replace it. And as soon as you have multiple layers like I have, it's going to try and export stuff with transparency layer. So no, I'm going to go with 24 bits. And compatibility options, do not write color space information. Very good. Export. And there you go. If I start the game again, it should be there. The hamster should be in the inventory. And there you go, there's your little buddy that can follow you around the game. Alright, let's give him a mushroom. Well, it's not as good as my previous work, but yeah, have 2 mushrooms, very cute. If you go into the unpacked data inside the user folder saved games Arx Libertatis unpacked, and go into Graph and Interface, and then you can check out all of these folders because you will be able to see all the images that the game is using. Here are the book stuff. Here's the background of the spell book. It is also a BMP. It has a solid transparent thing around it. And let me find a JPEG file because that is the other format that the game is using. It is mostly used for textures, for either the player, items, or for the walls. And that can be found also in Graph, Object 3D, Textures, and here are all the assets that the game is using. Let me try finding something that is a goblin. Or you know what, let's rename or recolor the bone that you can pick up for fighting. Control F, and let's search for bone. Let's see what we have. All right, as expected, we have some textures used on the catacomb walls and also in the Ratman levels. All right, this should be it. Yes, very good. It's again a BMP file. Actually, if you save the image as a JPEG file, then the game will recognize it. Here you can see that JPEG is used here. First of all, let's see where this is. Right-click and open file location. Very nice. It's inside Graph, Object 3D Textures. And let's create the same folder structure in Arx Libertatis. Graph, Object 3D Textures. Oh, very nice. We already have this folder here. Let me copy this item bones.bmp and let's place it here. And again, let me open it with GIMP. Very nice. And I'm going to use this lasso tool, this free select tool, to just roughly outline a selection around this bone and making sure that everything regarding the bone is selected here. I'm going to copy this and paste it on a new layer. Here you can toggle the visibility of each layer. And one more thing I need to do is that I want to change the color of this layer, but first of all, I need to remove this black around there so that if I change the color, it would not change this black around it. So I'm going to use this fuzzy selector tool or magic wand. I'm going to click on black on one side and on the other side. And I don't know if that is the case here. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like so. Control Shift A. And let me change the color here by going colors, let's say color balance. And let's make it a bit more cyan, I guess. Okay. And if I enable the previous layer, then you can see that the original bone looked like this with bone color, and now we have this more greenish stuff. File, and I'm going to export it as item bones.jpg in this case, just to illustrate working with JPEGs. Export. I'm going to bump up the quality to 100, and I'm not going to save any of this stuff here, but in the advanced options, I'm going to go, and the most important thing to keep in mind is to remove this progressive. Everything else that I did is optional, but make sure to remove this progressive because that is the only thing that Arx cares about. Okay, export. There we go. And just to not make Arx confuse our textures and force it to use this bone texture, I'm going to remove the other one. And let's see if this worked out. Okay, fingers crossed. And well, what do you know? It's a bit more green. Very nice. And even if I pick it up, then you can see that it's more green than the original bone. Let's go to some light. And yeah, you can see that all the bones are now green. How cool is that? So you can change any of the textures in the game and any of the images, and the BMP files can be changed to JPEG and vice versa in order to get the format that you want. JPEGs are general purpose files, can be used for everything in the game, but if you need transparency, then you need to go with BMP. Yeah, shut up, Kultar. Alright, what to do when you want to show everyone your work of art and changed textures? How do you publish this? How do you send this to your friend? Well, first of all, you can go to, well, any folders. I'm going to prepare my little package of mod in this, well, let's go to the downloads. Very creative. And then let me create a new folder. And in here, I will call this like my shitty Arx mod. And in here, you need to recreate the folder structure. So first of all, new folder, graph. And in here, object 3D. And then textures. And let me copy the bone image here. And let me also place the inventory with hamster into this little package. So let me go to the graph folder again, and let's create interface. And inside we need to create another folder called inventory. And I'm going to place the hero inventory.bmp into that folder. And there you go, congratulations, you have created this little package. Feel free to compress it to a zip. Very good my shitty Arx mod. And you can send this to your friend, and your friend could extract this folder and could place this graph folder to their own Arx Libertatis or Arx Fatalis instance, specifically next to Arx.exe, and there you go, they will be able to load your lovely work of art into their own game. I would recommend everyone who wants to start doing a little bit of modding for Arx Fatalis is to go to the extracted files of Arx Fatalis, go into this users, your own username, saved games, and Arx Libertatis unpacked, and just peek into all of these folders just to get an idea on what is inside these folders. If you want to work with textures, images, and other graphical stuff, then just go into graph, and you need to work in these folders. But if you want to work with replacing sound effects, then you can go into SFX. Windows said he's working on it. Thanks, Windows. And if you want to work with voice acting, dialogues and such, then you can go into the speech folder and you will be able to find the dialogues and voice lines here. But we will cover editing audio in another episode. For now, I'm going to conclude this episode of Arx Fatalis Modding Academy. Thank you for being here all the way to the end if you are still here. And I will catch you all in the next episode. If you have any questions, then feel free to drop it into the comment section, and I'm very curious to see what you guys come up with. But for now, I'm out, and I will see you all in the next Arx Fatalis Modding Academy episode. Bye bye!